Hello students, welcome to this Frames 5 video tutorial on Angry Birds. Please find Frames 5 in your application screen and open Frames 5. Let's do an initial save. So let's go up to the pull down menus at the top, go to File, and choose Save As. In the Save In window, click the down arrow and look for your student number and click on your student number. For the file name, I want you to call it Birds, and then hit save. Okay, we're going to start by creating the environment first. Alright, so on the right hand side, the right hand panel, let's click on the shape tool and let's click on the rectangle tool. So what we're going to do is we're going to create the ground first. Make sure that the stroke is checked off and we're going to choose a brown. And then make sure that the fill is checked off and we're going to create a green. So what we're doing is we're creating grass. Alright, so what I want you to do is I want you to create a rectangle along the bottom of your screen, but you're actually going to start it outside of the screen. So we don't see three of the borders of the rectangle. So when we do this, we show only the top, which is the ground. And the left border, the bottom border, and the right border are kind of hidden outside of the frame. At this point, you can change the width of the outline if you feel that it's too thick or too thin, and you can change the color of the outline as well if you think it's too dark or too light. Alright, let's deselect. So that's our ground. Now, try not to have the ground too high because we want to have all of this space in the environment, in the frame, to animate. So the ground is actually quite shallow. Okay, so let's create our building blocks here, or our towers. Alright, let's click on the shape tool again, and let's click on the triangle. Let's change the stroke color back to black, and let's change the fill color to a blue. Okay, you can choose any color you want. I'm going to decrease the width of the stroke. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a small triangle here, and I'm going to have it kind of sit on the ground. Okay, you can adjust the height of the triangle by pushing down on one of these squares. Make sure that you like the width of the stroke. You can decrease it. Okay, but what I want you to do is I want you to try and remember the stroke width, approximately where on the slider is that width. Okay, so while this triangle is still highlighted, let's duplicate it. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this other triangle right next to it. Okay, so this triangle is approximately halfway across the frame from the left side to the right side, approximately halfway. Okay, if it's not, simply grab this one and move it over, and then grab the other one and move it over. But what I want to make sure is I want to make sure that both of these triangles are touching each other. Okay, so let's deselect. Let's go back to the shape tool and let's click on the rectangle tool. Let's decrease the size of the width slightly, and I'm going to choose a different color for the rectangle. So I'm going to choose, how about red? Now I'm going to create a template of a rectangle that we're going to use over and over and over again. I don't want to make it too wide, so let me shrink it up a bit. And again, what you want is you want the outline, the stroke outline width, to be approximately the same as the width of your triangles. So I'm going to see if I can just bring it down a little bit more. Okay, that looks about right. Okay, so we're just creating these simple shapes that we're going to build on top of each other to create a tower. Okay, next, let's go back to the shape tool and let's click on the rectangle tool again. And this time let's create a square. Let's change the fill color to something that we haven't used yet. So I'll use yellow, you can use pink, you can use any color that you want. Okay, I don't want you to use the same colors that I am. You can get creative here. Remember to reduce the width of the outline so that it matches the other two shapes. Okay, let's deselect and have a look. Okay, it looks like my square's width is slightly thicker. I'm going to see if I can adjust that. All right, so we're going to use these three main shapes and we're going to just build towers out of them. So again, when you go to build the towers, they do not have to look exactly the same as mine. Okay, so I'm going to click on the rectangle and I'm going to duplicate it, and then I'm going to stack that on top of my square. Okay, you can have a little bit of separation between the shapes, it doesn't matter. Okay, I'm going to copy the square and I'm going to place that on top of the rectangle. And I'm going to copy and duplicate that square 2 times, and I'm going to stack them this way. All right, so now I'm going to duplicate the rectangle and I'll push it up here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the rotate tool, which is this little ball on top of the rectangle, and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees so that it's now a vertical rectangle, but it's the exact same shape and size as the horizontal rectangle. So what I'll do is I'll create 2 little pillars here. So I've got the first one, and then what I'll do is I'll duplicate it, and then I'll stack another one on this side here. Okay? All right, and then finally, how about I put another square here? I'll duplicate it and put it on top right there. Okay, so I've got my first tower. So what we're going to do is we're going to create another tower over here and then a smaller one over here. Okay, so I'm going to start with my square and I'm going to duplicate it. So let's create the shorter tower over here. I'm going to place that on the ground, and then what I'll do is I will copy the triangle, duplicate the triangle, and I will place it on top of this square, and then I will duplicate the square and I will carefully balance it on top of the triangle. Okay? All right, let's create the third tower over here. So I'm going to copy and duplicate this vertical rectangle. I'm going to duplicate it and I'm going to place it right over here. And then I'm going to duplicate it again, and I'm going to create kind of 3 pillars on this tower as my first level. And I'll duplicate it again. Oops, sorry. See, that's the danger of clicking off of an object, and if you hit duplicate, it duplicates the frame. So you can see here in the timeline, I've created another frame. So I will just delete that frame. I will remember to click on the shape that I want to duplicate, and I will create a third pillar here. Okay. Now you can get creative here. You can put any combination of your 3 shapes that you like. So I'm going to duplicate the square, and I'll place a square there, and then I will duplicate the square and put another one here. Okay. All right, let's do something interesting with the triangle. So I'm going to click on a triangle, and I'm going to duplicate it, and then I'm going to bring it over here, and then I'm going to use the rotate tool again, and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees, or 180 degrees I should say, and that way it's an inverted triangle, and I'll place it there, and then I'll duplicate it, and I'll put another one right here. Okay. All right, let's copy the horizontal rectangle. We haven't used that in a while. Let's duplicate that, and I will place it right here. Not everything has to be stacked and centered. And then what I'll do is I'll take a square and duplicate it, and then I'll put it over here on this side. Okay. All right, so I've kind of got my environment, my game board here. So I'm almost ready to start animating. All right, from the right-hand panel, we're not going to use the tool panel. We're going to use the library panel. Okay. Now there's a couple ways that you can search for clip art. You can go right into the files and search according to files. Or what you can do is at the bottom here, there's a search window. So what I'd like you to type in is, I'd like you to type in bird, B-I-R-D, and then hit enter. It's going to search its library for all the bird clip art and bird photographs that are in the program. And what we're going to do is, unfortunately, they don't have the actual Angry Bird characters because those are trademarks. But what we're going to do is we're going to create our own kind of version of Angry Birds, and we're going to use the chicken. So hopefully you have the chicken in your library. So we're going to click on the chicken. And in order to put it into our environment, you can either click, hold, and drag it over, or you can simply click on this little green arrow here. So I'm going to click on the green arrow, and I'm just going to move it off to the side, and I'm going to reduce the size by grabbing one of these corner points. I don't want the chicken to be too big. Okay? All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to position the chicken so that it looks like it's entering the frame from the left-hand side. Okay, let's go up and save this project so far. All right, so this concludes this Frames 5 video tutorial on Angry Birds Part 1. Please continue on with the next tutorial without calling Mr. Ueda over. Thanks for watching. Bye.